Let's start with the least deadly planets and slowly work our way towards the most terrifying ones on the list. Number 8, Saturn. This one tricks you at first because Saturn looks soft. Those beautiful rings, the golden hue, it all screams majestic space postcard. Then you fall in. The atmosphere welcomes you with winds at 100 miles per hour, slightly slower than Neptune, but somehow more chaotic. You're dropping through hydrogen and helium clouds that look like caramel swirls from above, but feel like getting beaten with frozen hammers up close. The temperature starts at negative 220 degrees Fahrenheit at the cloud tops and climbs as you fall deeper. That sounds like good news until you realize warmer here means you get to experience more of your death consciously. The pressure increases gradually, methodically, like the planet wants you to understand exactly what's happening. At around 100 miles down, you hit a layer where the atmospheric pressure turns hydrogen into a liquid. Your body doesn't pop or explode, it just compresses. Bones cracking, organs rupturing, blood forcing its way out of every opening. The Cassini probe recorded sounds from Saturn's atmosphere before it died, and they're genuinely unsettling. Imagine radio static mixed with whale songs and distant screaming. That's your soundtrack as you liquefy. Number 7, Jupiter, the king of planets and hands down the most violent death in the solar system. Here's what makes Jupiter special. You don't get to fall all the way down, the planet won't allow it. You enter the atmosphere at 110,000 miles per hour because Jupiter's gravity is obscene, over 2.5 times Earth's pull. The friction from hitting that thick hydrogen atmosphere at that speed ignites you instantly. You become a human meteor, a streak of light burning at over 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. You're vaporized before your brain can register pain. Just gone, erased. But let's say, hypothetically, you had a magic shield that protected you from the initial burn. You'd fall through cloud layers of ammonia ice, ammonium hydrosulfide, and water, each one more toxic than the last. The winds here hit 400 miles per hour, relatively calm by gas giant standards, but the pressure ramps up fast. At 1,000 miles down, the pressure reaches 100,000 times Earth's sea level. The hydrogen around you stops being a gas and becomes a liquid metal, conducting electricity like a wire. You're essentially falling through a planet-sized battery. And you still haven't hit bottom because there might not be a bottom. Jupiter might just be layers of increasingly dense gas and liquid hydrogen, all the way down to a possible rocky core that scientists still argue about. In 1995, NASA dropped the Galileo probe into Jupiter. It lasted 57 minutes and sent back data showing temperatures of 300 degrees Fahrenheit and pressures that eventually crushed it like a soda can. You wouldn't last 57 seconds. Number 6, Mars. Now we're getting to the planets where you might actually see ground before you die, and somehow that makes it worse. Mars has barely any atmosphere, just a thin wisp of carbon dioxide that's about 1% as thick as Earth's. You start falling from orbit and there's nothing to slow you down. No air resistance, no parachute effect, just gravity pulling you at 25,000 miles per hour toward rust-colored dirt. You'd have maybe 2 minutes of freefall to contemplate your choices. The thin atmosphere means you'd experience almost no friction heat, so you stay conscious and cold the whole way down. It's negative 80 degrees Fahrenheit on average, colder at the poles. Your body doesn't burn up, doesn't freeze solid instantly, you just fall, watching the surface details get sharper and sharper. Those mountains, those canyons, they're all coming at you at terminal velocity. When you hit at roughly 1,200 miles per hour. Every bone shatters simultaneously. Your organs rupture and blend together. The impact creates a small crater, and Mars dust, which is basically microscopic razor blades of oxidized iron, settles over what's left of you. The really dark part? If you fell in the right spot near the ice caps, future colonists might find your frozen, mummified remains perfectly preserved thousands of years later. Go ahead, pick one. Mercury during the day or Mercury at night. If you chose the day side, well, GG's, you're dead in about 8 seconds. Mercury's daytime temperature reaches 800 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt lead, hot enough to cook you from the outside in like a rotisserie chicken. Your skin blisters and peels in the first 2 seconds, your blood starts to boil by second 4, and your brain literally cooks inside your skull by second 8. But at least it's fast. If you chose the night side, congratulations, you get to suffer longer. The night side drops to negative 290 degrees Fahrenheit. You're freeze-drying in a vacuum because Mercury has basically no atmosphere, just trace amounts of oxygen and sodium. You fall slowly in the low gravity, about a third of Earth's, giving you plenty of time to feel your saliva boil off your tongue, your lungs collapse as the air gets sucked out, and your body temperature plummets simultaneously. You're being cooked and frozen at the same time depending on which side of your body faces the sun. The technical term is thermal shock, and it's as fun as it sounds. Dead. All right, let's try another one. Number 5, Venus, This is the bad one. This is the planet that makes every other death look merciful. Venus is Earth's twin in size, but Satan's playground in practice. You start your descent, and the first thing you notice is the clouds. They're made of sulfuric acid, actual battery acid floating in the sky, thick yellow clouds that rain acid, but the rain never reaches the ground because it's so hot the drops evaporate mid-fall. You're breathing this now, or trying to. The carbon dioxide atmosphere is so thick you can barely move through it, like falling through honey that hates you. The temperature at cloud level hovers around 900 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hotter than Mercury's dayside, hotter than most ovens. The pressure is 92 times Earth's sea level, equivalent to being 3,000 feet underwater. Your eardrums rupture immediately. Your eyes boil in their sockets. The acid clouds eat through your skin like tissue paper. But you keep falling because the atmosphere is so dense it won't let you fall fast. You get to experience every second of this. Soviet Venera probes that landed on Venus in the 1970s lasted a maximum of 2 hours before the heat and pressure destroyed them. They were built with titanium and designed to withstand a nuclear blast. You're made of meat. You last about 4 minutes if you're lucky, and those 4 minutes redefine the concept of agony. Your body doesn't explode or dissolve, it slowly compresses and bakes, like a steak in a hydraulic press inside an oven. When you finally hit the surface, there's nothing left to hit with, just a smear of carbon and regret. Number 4, Earth. Wait, Earth? Yeah, Earth, because let's get real for a second. This is the only planet where you'd survive the fall under the right conditions. People have fallen from planes without parachutes and lived. Vesna Vulovic fell 33,000 feet in 1972 when her plane exploded and survived with injuries. She held the record for years, but here's the thing, she got lucky. She landed in snow, hit trees that slowed her descent, and landed at an angle that didn't turn her skeleton into powder. For every Vesna, there are thousands of people who fell from way less height and died on impact. Earth's atmosphere is thick enough to create serious wind resistance, which is both good and bad. Good because it slows you down to a terminal velocity of about 120 miles per hour instead of letting you accelerate infinitely. Bad because 120 miles per hour into concrete still kills you extremely dead. You get about 3 minutes of free fall from cruising altitude, 3 minutes to think about every choice that led to this moment. The impact breaks an average of 237 bones. Your organs smash against your ribcage and each other, your aorta tears, your brain bounces inside your skull, causing massive hemorrhaging, and if you're conscious for any of this, the pain is indescribable. But technically, you might live, if you're absurdly lucky. That's more than any other planet can offer. Number 3, the moon. Okay, technically not a planet, but you're falling into it anyway, so it counts. The moon has 1/6 of Earth's gravity, which sounds gentle until you remember it has no atmosphere. None. You fall in complete silence through perfect vacuum at a leisurely but unstoppable pace. Your terminal velocity is around 5,400 miles per hour by the time you hit, because there's nothing to slow you down. The fall from low orbit takes about 4 hours. 4 hours of floating in silence, watching the gray surface get closer, knowing exactly how this ends. No air means no breathing, obviously, but it also means your blood starts to boil at body temperature due to the reduced pressure. Your lungs collapse. Your eyes freeze in sunlight or shadow depending where you are. You don't die from impact, you die from exposure about 2 minutes into the fall. When your already dead body finally hits the lunar surface, it doesn't make a sound because sound needs air. You just crumple into the dust at supersonic speed, creating a small divot that'll stay there for millions of years because the moon has no wind or weather to erase it. You become a permanent monument to bad decisions. Number 2, the sun. Let's address the obvious one. The sun isn't a planet, it's a star. But if we're talking about falling into celestial bodies, we can't skip the ultimate one. Here's what happens. You start falling from space and the heat hits you way before you reach the surface. At 1 million miles out, you're already toast, literally, as the radiation cooks you at several thousand degrees. The sun's corona, its outer atmosphere, runs at 2 million degrees Fahrenheit. You vaporize instantly, not even atoms left behind, just energy. Your molecules break apart into component atoms, then those atoms lose their electrons and become plasma. You don't fall into the sun, you merge with it. You become light and heat. In a weird way, it's the most poetic death on this list. Every piece of you gets absorbed into nuclear fusion reactions and eventually radiates back out into space as photons. You literally become starlight. 8 minutes later, a tiny fraction of you reaches Earth and maybe hits someone's solar panel. Congrats, you're green energy now. Number 1, a black hole. Not a planet, barely even a place, but the final boss of falling into things. Black holes break physics in ways that make every other entry on this list look pleasant. Let's say you fall toward a stellar mass black hole, the smallest kind. As you approach, gravity gets weird. The pull on your feet becomes significantly stronger than the pull on your head because gravity increases dramatically with proximity. This difference stretches you. Astronomers call it spaghettification because you literally get pulled into a long, thin strand like a noodle. Your body stretches, bones pop out of sockets, skin tears, blood vessels rupture lengthwise. You're being pulled apart molecule by molecule. But it gets stranger. From your perspective, falling in, time moves normally. From an outside observer's perspective, you appear to slow down as you approach the event horizon, eventually freezing in place and fading to red as the light from your body gets stretched into infinity. You cross the event horizon and fall toward the singularity, but at that point, space and time swap properties. You're not falling through space anymore, you're falling through time itself. All possible futures lead to the singularity. You can't stop, you can't turn around, you can't exist anywhere except closer to the center. And then you hit the singularity, a point of infinite density where the laws of physics give up and go home. You're crushed to infinite smallness, not destroyed, not vaporized, compressed. Every atom that made you, every memory, every thought, every moment, compressed into a mathematical point with no volume. You become part of the black hole's mass. Solved. So here's what you just learned. Neptune and Uranus shred you with cold and wind, Saturn and Jupiter crush and burn you with pressure and speed, Venus melts you in acid and heat, Mars and Mercury kill you with impacts and extremes, Earth gives you a puncher's chance if you're lucky, the moon and sun erase you in different ways, and black holes redefine what death even means. Every planet offers a unique flavor of oblivion, and somehow, Venus still wins the award for most creatively sadistic. The gas giants don't let you reach the ground, the rocky planets don't give you time to regret, and the impossible objects like black holes make you question if you were ever really there at all. If you want to know what it's like falling through wormholes or crashing into neutron stars, that's a whole different nightmare we can explore next time.